This book has been doing the rounds on BookTube. I have the FOMO. I have all the FOMO. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today we are doing a weekend reading vlog. It is Saturday morning, and today I'm going to be on sprints for 8 hours with Leandra from the TBR Zero, doing a full day of reading Ice Planet Barbarians. We do this every second month, and we've been slowly reading through the whole series. Today we're going to be reading books 5 and 6, and I will be vlogging what I'm doing today, my thoughts, and also I figured I'd just make it a weekend reading vlog. And I figured, because I did have another book on my TBR that would kind of work for this weekend, that we would do a weekend of Fire and Ice, because Ice Planet Barbarians, but also I need to read Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. This is on my TBR from Timmy's TBR, and I just figured Ice, Fire, perfect weekend of reading fantasy and fantasy romance. But the book I am going to be starting the weekend with is book 5 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series, which is Barbarian Prize. I would love to tell you what this book is about other than the obvious of Ice Planet Barbarians, but I can't, because I have no idea what couple this book is. The synopsis doesn't say, and it's been 2 months since I read the last book, and I don't remember it setting up a couple. And if it did, I don't recall what couple that was. So I can't really tell you at this moment what couple this follows, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of Ice Planet Barbarians, and then when I come back, after I start reading it with Leandra, I'll be able to tell you a little bit more. But basically, Ice Planet Barbarians is a book where a bunch of women were kidnapped by aliens from Earth. These aliens were horrible. They did horrible things to these women in the first couple of chapters of the first book, but their spaceship, something happens to their spaceship. There's a mechanical problem. So they have to land on an ice planet and abandon the women to go get basically help in a new spaceship. The women see this as a time to escape, so one of the women goes out to see what is on this ice planet and finds a tribe of blue aliens. And this is a romance, so they start to pair up with the aliens and have alien smut. Hence why I decided to wear this shirt today. This is from Four Paws in a Books merch, and I felt like it really fit the vibes for today. There's actually a pretty good amount of plot to these books. I originally thought it was just going to be smut before I went into it. I was pleasantly surprised that there is a good amount of plot to them as well. Each book follows a different alien and human couple, and we are on book 5. But I can't tell you what the couple is, as I said, because I don't know. So I will be back once Leandra and I start the sprints to go over exactly what couple is the main couple of book 5. Hi everyone, I have just finished Barbarian's Prize. We are on the second sprint on Leandra's channel. I finished it during the first sprint on Leandra's channel, but near the very end. So I figured before I got started on the next book, during this sprint, I'd come in and just let you know how I thought Barbarian Prize went. This is probably my second favorite couple of the whole series. My favorite couple is Kira and Ihoko, and Tiffany and Saluk are right up there with my favorites. This book definitely covers some harder topics. So like I said earlier, in the first book, these females are kidnapped by aliens, but these are not the aliens that they are with for the remainder of the series. These aliens abandon them on an ice planet, and then they meet the ice barbarians. While they are in the care of these aliens, though, these aliens are horrible to these women and do absolutely horrific things to them, including rape. We don't see the rapes on book, but we hear them discussed. Tiffany is one of those women who experienced rape from the first aliens. So Tiffany has been very nervous around the blue aliens and really is not sure if she wants to have an alien mate because of the trauma she experiences. We see her form a friendship with Saluk and start to trust Saluk, but we also see how Saluk is there to help Tiffany move through the pain of what she's been through. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful story. Their relationship, like I said, is probably my second favorite of the entire series so far. I absolutely loved it. This book only got a 4-star. It was almost a 5, but in the middle of this book, there is a tournament that happens, and I just felt like that was really unnecessary, and it kind of cluttered up what was really a poignant and powerful story of Tiffany's trauma and how this relationship had to work through that trauma. And I just felt like it was unnecessary, so I knocked it down a star for that reason and that reason only. In this book, we also see a lot of Tiffany's friend, Josie. Josie is the only other female who has not had a mate by the time of the start of this book. It's just Josie and Tiffany left. Josie really wants to find a mate. She has such a longing to have a family and a baby. And that's something Josie really wants. And we see that longing through this book. And it definitely sets up for Josie to be the next female that we follow in the next book. So I'm about to start Barbarian Mate, which is book 6 in this series. And I am 100% certain that this must follow Josie. I haven't started it yet, but I have a very strong feeling this follows Josie, especially after talking to Leandra. So this is Josie's book. I have a suspicion that her alien mate is going to be Hayden, just because they are very much Grumpy Sunshine in the book that I just read. And I feel like they were setting up this Grumpy Sunshine match between the two of them. I'm gonna go. We are still on sprints for another 3 more sprints, so I'm going to jump in and get as much of this read today, and then I'll finish it tomorrow on Sunday. Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday morning, and last night after I checked in with you when I finished book 5 of Ice Planet Barbarians, I ended up getting to 58% of Barbarian's Mate. I stopped at that point when sprints ended. I was kind of done for reading for the night. It was 9 o'clock, and I just kind of wanted to chill for the rest of the night, and that's what I did. I really did nothing. I watched TV and did basically nothing for the rest of the evening. So right now, I still have 42% of Barbarian Mate to read. However, I'm not loving this book as much as some of the other books in the series, and I think I just want to take a little break from it. I will finish it before the end of today. That's not going to be a problem. I think I only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours left, so it's not going to take me that long to finish it once I actually get to doing so. I just don't feel like picking it up right at this moment. So I'm going to get a head start on Fireborn. Like I said in the start of this vlog, I'm doing a weekend of Ice and Fire with Ice Planet Barbarians and Fireborn, and I'm going to get started on this today. I've already started a little bit. I'm about 30 pages in at this point, but I just felt like I needed to change it up just for the morning, and then I'll go back to Ice Planet Barbarians either this afternoon or this evening. And the moment I switch back will probably depend on my mood at the time. So will I just read through this whole book? Will I stop at some point and switch back? Who knows? So this book follows Lee and Annie. Lee and Annie live in a world post a revolution. There was a revolution that took down the leaders of their world, and now in this new world, anyone can choose to be a dragon rider or test to be a dragon rider. In the old regime, you had to be born into a highborn family to be a dragon rider, but now you just need to test into it. Both Annie and Lee have tested into being a dragon rider, and they are kind of working their way through that program and being part of something called the Fourth Order. However, a surviving factor of the previous regime resurfaces, and a war starts to become a possibility or even actually happen in order to kind of reclaim the old way of this world. And Lee and Annie have to decide where they're going to fall in alliances and what side of this war and revolution they are going to be on. This book has been doing the rounds on BookTube. I have the FOMO. I have all the FOMO. And I'm very excited to be reading some dragon fantasy today. Hi everyone. The last time I talked to you was Sunday, and I was just kind of diving into the second day of my weekend of Ice and Fire, reading Ice Planet Barbarians and Fireborn. It is now Tuesday, and I will explain why. This would have been doable in a weekend, but I had family unexpectedly come into the city, and we've been hanging out and just catching up and having a great time. I didn't know they were coming ahead of time, so it was very much a last minute thing, and I wanted to just take a little break from reading and hang out with my family, and that's what I've been doing. So I have done a little bit of reading since I checked in with you, but not a whole ton. So I wanted to come in. This is still a fun vlog. We're still having fun. It's just taking a few extra days. So instead of it being a weekend of Ice and Fire, it's gonna be like 5 days of Ice and Fire, and that's perfectly fine. But this morning, my family is meeting up with some other people and are out. So I got some reading done this morning, and I finished Barbarian Mate. This book follows Josie and Hayden, and it was definitely set up in the book previous to this. So I kind of saw that coming. In the book previous, Josie is very sunshine. She is so happy, and all she wants is to find a residence mate and have a baby. That is what we know about Josie. Josie is on a birth control situation and goes even on a journey to fix that in the previous book because she can't have a resident mate while she's on birth control. At the very end of the previous book, we see that being fixed. And also the last chapter of this book is the first chapter of the Barbarian Mate. So you kind of see it ×2. I skipped the first chapter once Leandra told me that because Leandra was a little bit ahead and I had just read it. So there was really no point in reading it twice. But if I had taken a break between books, I probably would have read it twice just to like refresh myself on what was happening. Josie figures out her birth control and is now no longer on birth control and decides to start trouncing her way through the camp, flaunting herself in front of every single alien man in the hopes that one of them resonates with her. And eventually she walks by Hayden and they resonate. The problem is they do not get along. We saw that in the book previous. They are enemies. And Hayden is very grumpy and Josie doesn't like that. And I was expecting this book to be grumpy sunshine. That was what I was expecting. However, Josie's personality completely changes at the start of this book when she resonates with Hayden. All she wanted was a resident mate and to have a baby. She resonates with Hayden and she acts like that was never a desire in her life ever. And it was just a little odd. It really felt like her whole personality went upside down and completely changed. And I was expecting this to be a grumpy sunshine situation, and it just wasn't. And I missed our happy Josie for a good 50% of this book. The second half, we kind of see Josie kind of come back into herself, and we see the relationship with Hayden. But the first half of this book was just not what I wanted it to be, because it really felt like the characters that I got to know in Barbarian Prize were completely different. And if you were going to change her personality so much in this book, there was no need to have her be such a big part of Barbarian's Prize, because it was probably the most we've seen of any other character set up in a previous book. At the end of this book, we find 2 other females that we did not know were on this planet, and we briefly met them, and I mean very briefly. But I'm mentioning that because I'm assuming one of these women is the one we're going to follow in the next book. Cannot remember their names because, like I said, it was very, very briefly covered. I'm assuming one of these women is our next book. It will be 2 months before I read the next book because we're doing this bi-monthly with Leandra on Sprints. I will be reading that and vlogging it at that time. Because of everything that I kind of said and Josie and Hayden really not being my favorite couple, I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. It is probably my second least favorite book in the series. Book 4 is still my least favorite, but this one is on the bottom of what I've read so far in my enjoyment level. That being said, I'm still reading Fireborn. I am almost done. I'm on page 322, and I believe there's 432 pages in this book, so I just have about 100 pages left. I still have some time to read this morning before my family comes back, but I'm also doing Tuesday night sprints with friends this evening, so if I don't finish this before then, I will be able to finish this on sprints tonight. So I will be finishing up the last book for this vlog sometime today, and then I will check in with you with my final thoughts on Fireborn. So it's Wednesday morning, and last night on Sprints, I did finish Fireborn, And I absolutely love this. I gave it 5 stars. This is a YA fantasy, but it is a dark YA fantasy. It almost probably falls into like a new adult category. And in my mind, it is kind of like if Game of Thrones and Hunger Games had a baby. That's what it felt like to me. This follows Lee and Annie. Lee and Annie are orphans from this previous revolution and are now able to test and become dragon riders. They are dragon riders, and we are seeing them go through this process of becoming the head of the people who are dragon riders. And we see their past and where Lee and Annie have come from. We see that Lee was almost born to be the leader of these dragon riders. And we see how Annie, who maybe is the underdog in this situation, comes into her own and really takes on this challenge of leadership and being a light in this government. In the previous way this government was run, it was basically a monarchy with 3 ruling families, and only the ruling families could ride dragons. There was a revolution, and everyone in those ruling families was killed, except for a few of the children who got away to another country and have basically been growing up there. They have now decided to come back and reclaim their place in this society. And we see somewhat of Lee and Annie trying to figure out where they fall in this and what is going to happen with this potential war coming and who is going to win and who is in the right and wrong. And it's a really gray, there's a lot of gray in this book. This is a 3-book series, and I feel like this book set up the series so well. It ended with, obviously I can't talk about it too much because it would be spoilers, but it really ended with us trying to figure out where this is going to go and who is going to go where. And I can't wait to see how that plays out over the next 2 books. I will definitely be continuing the series. Like I said, I gave this 5 stars and absolutely loved it. But that is the end of my weekend. It ended up being 4 days, but that's okay. Life happens. My weekend of Fire and Ice. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.